A beautiful girl was sitting by the swamp, showing off and flirting. Sure enough, a drooling green water god swam toward her. Just when it thought it could win the beauty's favor, a small crayfish quietly crawled onto its shoulder. After listening to the crayfish's intel, the water god sniffed hard, and it turned out that the girl was actually a frog. The water god was furious and was about to drag the girl into the water. Luckily, her companions rushed out just in time to stop it. Only the water god could help them cross the river of death, a necessary path to find the magic sword. An old lady standing nearby suddenly came up with an idea. She sprinkled magic potion on a shriveled apple core, and the next second, it turned into a fresh apple. She picked it up and took a bite. Immediately after, a graceful beauty appeared and successfully attracted the water god. Swayed by the beauty, the water god happily agreed to accompany them. A few days earlier, the boy had simply played on a slide and ended up in another world. A group of fully armed soldiers took this mysterious boy back to the palace. When the king saw the same ring on the boy's hand, he knew the boy was the son of the former king. The king pretended to instruct the queen to take good care of the boy in front of everyone. As expected, the queen locked the boy in a dark dungeon. Terrifyingly, there was also a man in the dungeon whose head, limbs, and torso were separated and frozen, yet he was still alive. Strangely enough, he could still move. At that moment, a young girl and an old lady broke into the dungeon, cut the chains that bound the man, shattered all the ice, and pieced his body back together. Miraculously, the man revived. After learning of the boy's identity, they rescued him as well. Finally, they reached the river of death, facing countless ferocious piranhas in the water. The water god was full of confidence. However, once the water god entered the river, the piranhas treated it like a hamburger. The queen's army was closing in, and with no way out, the group had no choice but to jump into a well. After being soaked in the well water, the old lady returned to her original form. The water god was both angry and sad. Above, the soldiers were chopping at the well cover. If they continued like this, everyone would be doomed. The water god dove into the water, opened its mouth wide, and swallowed all the water in the well. As the water level dropped, the group reached the bottom of the well and found a tunnel through which they could escape. They wanted to take the water god with them, but the water god, now bloated with water, was unable to move. It decided to sacrifice itself to buy time for its companions to escape. The group had no choice but to leave first. With its last bit of strength, the water god blocked the tunnel. The wicked queen transformed into a giant bird and descended to the bottom of the well. In one final act of defiance, the water god spat a huge glob of spit onto her face. Furious, the queen struck the water god twice with her whip, instantly turning it into a stone statue. Without the water god's control, all the water in the well erupted from its stone body. The group had not gone far before they were captured by the queen's army and taken to the possible hiding place of the magic sword. Under the queen's lashings, the boy casually picked up a stick, which turned into a dazzling magic sword in his hands. With a gentle swing of the sword, a powerful force knocked the queen off her horse. In the next moment, the boy quickly drew a circle in the air and jumped into it, choosing to escape back to his own world instead of saving his companions in a moment of crisis. However, he was plagued by guilt. The next moment, he encountered a strange old man from the other world. The old man opened a portal for him, and he resolutely returned to the magical world. By this time, his companions were about to be executed by the king and queen. As a solar eclipse formed, the magic sword and gem were already embedded together, and the man knew the king had gained the power of immortality. Despite the boy shooting countless bullets, the king was now invulnerable. In a moment of crisis, the boy used his skills as a trickster to convince the king to lay down the magic sword and face him in a one-on-one duel. The man took the opportunity to throw the gem into the air and slashed it into pieces with the sword. The king instantly turned to ashes, and the man perished along with him. Seeing that the tide had turned, the queen jumped over the wall and fled. With the defeat of the evil forces, all the people the queen had turned to stone were revived.